This is a fan-made narrative, and it's the reason why you shouldn't get a vote in this year's MVP race. It's awesome that we're appreciating Jokic's career while he's still in his prime, but we don't need to discredit Shai's season in order to do so. I'm convinced that a lot of you guys don't actually like basketball, and I know this because you guys aren't actually watching the games. Instead, you spend your time on X watching 5-second clips from content creators who are clearly rage baiting you and playfully being ironic. And yet you, the person who doesn't actually know any better, registers their bullshit takes at face value. And what's worse is a lot of you call it a day and run with it without having done any research yourself, reiterating it and spreading it like wildfire. But Matista, how did you find out that we haven't watched a full NBA game, not including LeBron or Stephen Curry, in over 4 years? It's funny you say that because I've actually curated a line of questions using surveys and AI that can 1000% determine whether or not you actually watch the NBA. Are you ready? Do you side with Nico Harrison? Have you called Shai foul merchant in the last 5 months? Have you ever called Russell Westbrook Westbrick? Do you think Jaylen Brown has no left hand? Do you think LeBron has no bag? Do you refuse to accept the Cleveland Cavaliers as championship contenders or at the very least playoff threats? If you answered yes to any of the above, you, my friend, do not watch the NBA. And that's okay.
Just kidding. It's absolutely not okay. You're the problem. You're what's wrong with the NBA.
Sorry, it's not me.
No, it is me.
No, really, it's not me. Bipolar episode aside, now let's look at the stats and see if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, in fact, a foul merchant. But first, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button below, because if you don't, I'm gonna personally make sure that Nico Harrison is your next GM. And trust me, nobody wants that. Here's what the guys over at FYF Sports Debates are saying. They call Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a foul-baiting free throw merchant for averaging 32 points per game on 9 free throw attempts per game. But Michael Jordan, who averaged 30 points per game on 8.2 free throw attempts for his career, is labeled the undisputed GOAT. The old NBA media and Jordan-era fans constantly move the goalposts when judging today's players. No matter how great a player is, they'll never get their fair shake because the narrative's already set. Is this just bias, or are they scared to admit today's game has evolved beyond their era? Wow. Well, here's what I think. No, I don't think it's the Jordan stans running around with this narrative. In fact, I believe they more than anybody would know this is a silly argument because getting to the free throw line a ton is very normal for superstar guards who don't shoot a massive volume of three-pointers. We saw this with D-Wade, Kobe, AI, MJ, and now we're seeing this with Shai. It's not that I disagree that watching players shooting free throws is super boring. I think most guys would admit that watching superstars shoot free throw after free throw can get very boring and sometimes even disrupts the flow of the game. But where the difference lies is a lot of the guys who are complaining about Shai's playstyle don't actually watch OKC games, which makes me think that these guys aren't mad that superstars are getting to the free throw line. You're just mad that Shai's getting to the free throw line. Now, why might that be? Why do so many people hate Shai? I mean, the dude's humble, down to earth, always plays it cool and says the right things. And so the only possible conclusion that I could come to is it has nothing to do with who he is. It has everything to do with who he's not. He's not Jokic. And you hate him because he's a threat to Nikola Jokic and Nikola Jokic's legacy. And so it turns out that it's not even the Jordan Glazers after all. This whole time it's been the Jokic stance. So yeah, it turns out Shai isn't any more of a foul merchant than any other elite all-time shooting guard. And yeah, I did say all-time great because that's how good he's been playing. But now let's actually compare Jokic's season to Shai's to determine who is objectively the 2025 most valuable player of the year. Shai is averaging 33, 5, and 6 on 52% shooting. Oh, and by the way, he has a higher 2-point percentage than MVP Shaquille O'Neal. And Jokic is averaging 29 and almost 13 and 10 assists on 57% shooting. There wasn't even this much rage back when Steve Nash won MVP over Shaq. And the crazy thing is the race is ongoing. Neither Shai or Jokic has won it yet. And no matter who you root for, you've got to understand that there's still 15 or so games left and things could still change. Not to mention, we should also be accounting for things like team success and defense as well as offense. And taking everything into account, it's honestly nuts because Shai is having one of the most impressive seasons at the guard position we've ever seen. And yet, I think it's still pretty clearly Jokic's MVP to win because quite frankly, Jokic is having the most impressive offensive season we've possibly ever seen. At least that's what I think. So you go down and let me know who you think deserves this year's MVP. Seriously, go down in there and rest your case. I want to see you guys arguing in there. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn those notices on. Forget both of these bums. Bam is the real MVP. Heat Info, Matista out. Peace.